Alrighty, today we're going to be checking out the newest release from Mancera. This one is Intense Red Tobacco. I think we all saw this coming at one point. Now, when I was talking about Intense Cedrat-Boisé, I think I had mentioned I wouldn't be surprised to see, an Intense Oud Lemon Mint. I know for sure I referenced that one. Maybe I said Red Tobacco as well, but it's kind of written on the wall. And it makes sense that they started out with their most popular best seller, Cedrat-Boisé. That's really the one that put them on the map the most. And in a close second is probably Red Tobacco. And it begs the question, who needs a more intense version of Red Tobacco? Because the eau de parfum is already very strong. And I think it's one of those deals where it's kind of like, why not? If you can buy the one that's going to be the strongest, the longest lasting, and the best version of that scent DNA, you might as well. And so we're going to run through this one today. I'm going to break it down, and I'm going to give you the performance, how it compares to the original. I'm going to talk about if I think it's worth making the jump over to this if you already have the original EDP. We're going to go through the scent. If you're unfamiliar with the scent, we'll talk about that as well and break it down, a whole bunch of stuff. And the reason why I didn't do a first impressions for this one is because given that it's an intense version of that already existing DNA, I'm not really going to be able to give you all of those metrics that I talked about having smelled it live on camera. I wanted to spend some time wearing this one and getting to know it. That way I can provide that information to you. And so that's why we're not doing first impressions here. Okay, let's start off with most obvious and most important, the scent. Is this truly just a more intense version of Red Tobacco, or did they change it wildly? And it is, in fact, a more intense version of Mancera Red Tobacco. And it's evident as soon as you first spray this one on, whether it's on skin, on a tester strip, up in the air, whatever. If you have spent any sort of time with Red Tobacco and you smell this, you are immediately going to put two and two together. I mean, they're that close. So what do I notice in terms of scent, in terms of it being different? Is there a difference? And when it comes down to it, not a ton. Really not a huge difference. And it's the same with Intense Cedrat-Boisé. There's not a massive difference. Now, given that this one is coming in at a higher concentration, we're talking an extrait de parfum concentration here, it does come across a little bit more full, a little bit more rich. It's very heavy and potent and almost kind of syrupy. And the syrupy nature is also prevalent in the original Red Tobacco. You're essentially getting a little bit of oud mixing with that tobacco, some tonka bean, some patchouli, and things like that. So you're getting some heavier, sweeter notes to kind of, lump all of that together. The tobacco note itself is a bit more sticky and sweet rather than like dry and smoky. So it's a different style. And that's kind of where this one falls. So if we take a look at the note breakdown on this one, I'll pull it up. That way I know I'm getting it right. We have pear, cinnamon, nutmeg, incense, saffron, and oud up top. Tobacco, jasmine, leather, patchouli, and vetiver in the mid. Musk, vanilla, gaiac wood, ambergris, and sandalwood in the base. So in terms of the notes compared to the eau de parfum, they appear to be exactly the same. If we go over to the EDP here, there's apple in the EDP, and there's no apple in the Intense. The mid and dry down between the two are shuffled around and kind of combined in the new Intense version. There is no ambergris in the EDP, but there is listed in the Intense. So going to be minor differences. The bulk majority of everything is the same. You get that cinnamon, smoky sweetness off the top. You immediately get into that tobacco and oud and that heavy, rich, full-bodied type of smell. Everything about this one simply is just amped up. Even more in your face, even more brash, even more, I don't want to say harsh, but it's a very direct scent. This DNA is not for everybody. Red Tobacco is one that's always been a little bit more polarizing, and this one kind of even takes it up a notch. So I think it's pretty safe to say, and I probably don't even have to say it, but if you're someone who doesn't like the original Red Tobacco, this will definitely be a no-go for you because it is just that amped up to the extreme. And so again, it comes down to, is that worth it to you? Is that necessary? In this instance here, personally, I would say the following, okay? If you already have red tobacco, the EDP, I don't think it's worth running out and grabbing the Intense unless you just have to have it. I don't think there is a whole lot of justification to go up to it. If you're already getting great performance out of the EDP, it's doing everything you want it to do, I think a lot of you guys would be happy right there. If you don't have red tobacco yet and you're wanting to get some for yourself, it's one of those deals where I would almost say, once you can get this one on discounters, just go straight for the Intense. Of course, some people might not like the added intensity. Maybe do some sampling around first, but I think in a lot of instances, you might have the feeling of, okay, maybe I should have just gotten the Intense instead of the EDP, you know, a little bit of buyer's remorse, maybe. But I think a lot of you guys will also find that if you do have the EDP already, you're going to be fine there. Because again, we're talking Mancera here, not, you know, a huge expensive niche brand where it's going to be going for hundreds and hundreds of dollars per bottle. Like the new Intense FRAGRANCEBUY.CA is $100 on discounters right now, 120 ml full presentation. That is not unreasonable in the slightest. And at some point, hopefully right around wintertime, you know, or end of fall, this one will be popping up on discounters for around the same price. Now, in the world of Intense FRAGRANCEBUY.CA versus FRAGRANCEBUY.CA, that was a situation where I kind of said, even if you already have the original, go for the Intense, because the Intense obviously is stronger, it's more improved, the DNA to me is more well-rounded and well put together, but also some people were having issues with FRAGRANCEBUY.CA EDP's performance, and so I would say, hey, if you already have the EDP, jump over and get the Intense. For $100, I think it's worth it. If you don't have the EDP, just go straight for the Intense and then be done with it. And so I think that's where the differences are between the two here. Yes, this DNA is a little bit more refined. I guess it's a little bit more heavy and rich. For me, that's not necessary with this in particular because I already found red tobacco eau de parfum to be plenty heavy and strong. And so it's one of those deals where hindsight is 20/20, you know, and for me, I'm going to buy the new releases no matter what. If I didn't have a channel and I didn't have to buy every new release and I sampled this one, I would probably stick with my EDP and not go for the full bottle. But that being said, everyone's situation is going to be different. If you do want to take it to the next level, then by all means go for it. But for me, I don't really think that I'll be necessarily wearing the Intense more than the EDP. Whereas with FRAGRANCEBUY.CA, I will be wearing the Intense heavily. Like 95% of the time when I go for FRAGRANCEBUY.CA, I'll go for the Intense. That's probably not going to be the case here. It's a little bit unnecessary for my personal taste. And you guys know I love parfums. That is my favorite concentration. I just don't need this much. This is a lot of a whole lot going on. Okay, so in terms of that performance, you know, I kind of kept you on the edge of your seat, but I think it kind of written on the wall, again, to use that expression. The red tobacco, the eau de parfum is already super strong, okay? And this one somehow is even stronger than that. Actually, in terms of projection, even though this is a parfum, it still pushes out very far. But what's dangerous about this one is, given that parfum high concentration, it also leaves a massive scent trail. So when you spray this one on and you walk through a room, it is sticking around. If you even spray this one on a piece of paper and set it down in your house somewhere, the whole room, the whole, you know, upper portion of your house, your living quarters, is still going to smell like that just from it sitting there. It is ridiculous. And so for me, longevity, 12, 14 hours. At that point, you're splitting hairs. At that point, it's hard to be that exact about it going on, whether it's going to be taking a shower, doing this, doing that, sleeping, whatever. And so I think if you make it to that point, you know you've made it. And so it gets to that point without breaking a sweat. And I'm sure if you really wanted to be dedicated and test it, it will go even longer than that. If you wanted to try to go a full day without showering or doing anything to obstruct this stuff, I bet it would last. And on clothing, you know that you could spray this on a hoodie or something and go hang it up in your closet and it'll be there for a long time. So ultimately, Intense Red Tobacco, it lives up to the name. And I think this is for those of you who just want the strongest one, the best one, the most expensive one, whatever. This is, you know, the top tier red tobacco, and it's just going to be up to you to make that call. I would be excited to continue to see them going here, and I'm sure they're going to. Like I said, I would lemon mint. I wouldn't mind seeing that. You know, Tonka Cola just came out, but I would love to see Tonka Cola really amped up and beefed up even more. I think that would be a fantastic release. And even if they could go over and do some magic on some of their citrus ones like Mancera Sicily, I'd love to see that one in a Parfum and Intense. It would be amazing. So hopefully they keep that momentum up. Maybe every year going forward, we're going to be getting these Intense releases. This one definitely is, it's powerful. So I do have a mailing list and texting list you can sign up to be the first to know about all new fragrance releases and big rare fragrance restocks. We're heading into the time of year here, end of the year, where things are going to be popping up. Sales are going to be happening all over the place. And so I recommend you get on those at the link and number down below. When this one comes up on discounters for, I would imagine, around $100, I'll notify you. You'll be the first to know. When stuff like Dior on Parfum comes up, similar deal. Now is the time to get on those lists and keep a lookout because, like I said, a lot of great stuff is going to be coming now through the end of the year, and you don't want to miss out. Alrighty, guys, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.